All right, looks like we have our audience members in here. So I am going to go ahead and get started with our introductions real quick. I'm going to let people in as we go in. Go ahead and get started. So my name is Emily Green. I work with the Colorado River Alliance as a program coordinator, and we are going to be talking a little bit about Earth Day today. So just before we get started, I wanted to go over some quick information. The Colorado River Alliance, our mission is to champion the long-term vitality of the Colorado River through education and engagement, especially with Earth Day, Earth Week, Earth Month, all that good stuff coming up. We really wanted to have a discussion about what we can do in each of our own lives and with our organizations to kind of make sure that we're exemplary in our lives with Earth Day and being eco-friendly. Whenever we are going through the presentation, just be sure that you keep your mics and cameras off. It helps everything run a little bit smoother. And if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, please feel free to leave them in the comment section, and we will go over that later on in the presentation. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and let everybody introduce themselves, and we'll go ahead and start off with Commissioner Travillion. If you want to go ahead and take it away.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Jeffrey Travillion, and I'm County Commissioner of Precinct 1. And I'm proud to be here talking with the team about Earth Day and about what it means to not only conserve, but also to make sure that we are making practical decisions that are going to be helpful in terms of making sure that our environment is kept clean and safe. So we'll talk during the course of the day about a number of things. We're really excited to be here with our team, which has done an exceptional job at Travis County, building partnerships, showing leadership internally, and giving us a path forward to being better stewards of our environment.
Excellent. Thank you for that introduction. All right, Tom, you're up next.
All right. I am Tom Gleason. I am the Sustainability Manager for Travis County. So I work with all different departments and groups across the county to figure out where we can conserve energy, save water, reduce waste, and overall kind of move our organization from a culture of consumption to a culture of conservation. And I'm thankful to have the leadership of our Commissioners Court in support of conservation and sustainability.
Awesome, thank you. And then Katie, last but not least, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Katie Bedrich. I work for Colorado River Alliance in our educational programs and outreach. So from our core educational programs for elementary and middle school students to more community environmental action events like cleanups and restorations, our volunteer and intern program, just generally getting to work with people of all ages to promote water conservation and protection. And I'm excited to be here. I've never been on this side of the River Reflections panel. Emily and I normally switch off moderating. So I'm really excited to represent us as a speaker today.
No, it feels so weird being interviewing you this time. It's very interesting. Well, thank you all so much for those introductions. And since we go ahead and get that out of the way, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the questions. So Katie, since I ended with you, I'll start with you this time. What environmental issues are most important to you this Earth Day? And more specifically, what initiatives are Travis County and CRA working on to address these issues?
Yeah, so it might be a shock to everyone, but water conservation is definitely an important issue for me, both in my personal life and obviously the work that I do with Colorado River Alliance. Water conservation is a core part of our curriculum in our programs with Colorado River Alliance. So again, empowering and educating people of all ages to understand their water use, their habits, and how they can reduce their water footprint in their everyday lives. I know, and for me personally, just in this past year, there have been a couple events that have made me think even more about my personal water use and, teaching others about water conservation. With the COVID-19 pandemic, I've been working from home the past year and have really been able to tune into what my water use looks like at home. You know, every time you wash your hands or do laundry or flush the toilet, thinking about where that water is coming from, where it's going, and how much I'm using. So just spending so much time in the same place has really made me think about water conservation in a new way. And also the winter storm that we went through a few months ago, I think really hit home for people when many of us in the community, city of Austin, all across Texas were left without water, access to water, some of us for a really long time. So I just think that sometimes these negative events can actually have a positive educational impact. And so this Earth Day, I know I've been thinking about water conservation in relation to all the current events that have been happening. And I think others might be thinking about it as well. So it's water for me. Awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I agree that resiliency through all of these most recent events and everything has really kind of made me rethink that as well. So I totally understand. All right, Tom, I'm going to go to you next. What are you thinking about this Earth Day? What's important to you?
So Travis County has actually been doing a week-long Earth Day celebration where we asked each one of our commissioners and county judge to select a theme for Earth Day, and we did a different celebration each day of the week. So Monday, we started off with community engagement with Commissioner Travillion. Tuesday was teleworking and the impact on reducing vehicle emissions. Wednesday was water quality. Today, Earth Day, was about sustainable purchasing, and tomorrow is going to be about zero waste. And I love that. I love that, you know, Earth Day and sustainability means something different to everybody. And that's fine. I think as long as everybody has something that they care about and are working to improve, I think that makes for a better community for all of us. Me personally, it's sustainability and climate change, which are big and broad and terrible. But you know, I'm young-ish. I eat healthy, I exercise, so I am probably going to be on this planet for a while. And I'd like it to be in the best condition as possible for me to enjoy. I also have two small people in my life. I have a niece and nephew in San Antonio, and I want them to have, you know, to be able to have the same experience and enjoy the same spaces that I was in my lifetime. So they're definitely big driving factors for me this Earth Day and every day.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, not only for today, but also for future generations. I think that sustainability and climate change and addressing those issues each and every day, not only Earth Day, but especially Earth Day, is super important. So definitely. All right, Jeffrey, you're up next.
All right. I've been very proud of our team that's working together at Travis County and how they have challenged the entire organization to understand more, to do more, to make sure that we are taking the steps necessary to keep our communities safe. You know, I picked community outreach as the area that I wanted to work in because I do a lot of work with making sure that we are talking to youth, whether we're working with Boy Scouts or whether we're working with My Brother's Keeper or fraternities and sororities. You know, there are a whole lot of people in the area whose grandparents were farmers, but they've never lived on a farm themselves. They don't know all of the things that define what conservation meant to community that grew all of its food, grew all of its meals, or actually sold resources at markets to make sure that that their families were being taken care of. We're trying to remind people of the cultural significance of not just farming, but what it means to be a part of an ecosystem, to understand that we've got great park systems here, for example. You know, my grandfather took me out fishing for the first time. Well, we've got stocked ponds at Travis County, and a lot of kids have never been there. So we want to talk to our youth groups. We want to talk to our church organizations, give them the opportunity to come out. From a policy perspective, we have been focusing on things like managing our landfills well. For example, you think about a majority of the landfills that were placed in this community were placed in minority communities who did not have representation on city council and commissioners court. Well, now we see that industrial waste that was disposed of in communities is now in a position where it might rupture and fall into our water table and impact our water. We have to make sure that people are aware of this, and then we have to build policy procedures and work with organizations to help address these types of problems. So it's important that we do practical things, but we understand what's around us and who can help us and how we can get this work done effectively.
Definitely. And environmental justice is such a huge part of that. So I'm glad you brought that up. I feel like that's extremely important. And then I guess going off of what you're saying, it kind of leads into this next question here. So I'll go right to you. Why is it especially important to engage youth in environmental education and stewardship specifically? I know we talked about community generally, but.
Yes. Let's take one example. When we wanted to address the smoking problem, we started talking to youth and educating youth about how one's lungs might be affected if they smoke. Taught kids about this in school. They found out that this is something that could harm and damage my parents. And the best advocates in our community were the kids who loved their parents and their grandparents and would encourage them not to continue. Once we make our youth aware of the opportunities to show leadership, once we make them aware of the consequences of not acting, and give them the tools that are necessary to understand, talk about, and affect change, they are extremely effective change agents. And I think when you look across the community and you look across the world, it really is a lot of young people that are informing not only their generation but other generations about their expectations and our responsibility to make sure that we leave this place a little better than we found.
Definitely. That is an interesting point, that it is coming kind of from the youth up, sometimes it feels like. So I think it's very interesting that it's kind of a global phenomenon that the youth are taking charge of that. I think it's very cool.
Very good thing. Very good thing.
Definitely. Katie, I'm going to go to you and ask you the same question, since of course you and I both work in youth education. I feel like this is pretty pertinent to what we do every day. So why do you think that this is important?
Definitely. Yeah. We, again, in our programs, we work with children as young as, pre-K up to middle school age students, our college interns. And so we definitely get to educate young people of all ages about these issues. And whenever we talk about these things, I always think of the quote that I don't know where it originally came from, and I'm paraphrasing, but how, we don't inherit the earth, we borrow it from future generations. And so everything that's here for us right now and everything that we're doing kind of like Tom said earlier for sustainability purposes, and so that our earth is clean and healthy for many, many years to come. So not only is it important to educate youth because they are our future leaders, and that they're going to be the ones making decisions very soon about our resources, but it's also, a lot easier to learn habits and absorb information and make environmental stewardship a real value in your life at a young age. And so we definitely want to leave an impression on our youth. We want to make things like conservation and water protection relevant to their lives, regardless of, socioeconomic background, regardless of where you live. I think that's something we really focus on at CRA in our educational programs is letting kids see how their life is so impacted by water. And, if it's relevant to you and it's interesting and you're at a young age when, you can absorb information like that, then that's when it becomes a lifelong habit and a lifelong value. So, older generations, I'm not saying that, we're not capable of learning these things too at any age, and community engagement of people with all ages is super important, but the kids definitely pick up on things a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. And so, yeah, I really enjoy working with them, and it's super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, accessibility is a huge issue as well. Whenever you're talking about getting that out to all the kids, we really try to focus on making sure that everybody has access to that. Tom, what about you? Why do you think that youth stewardship is important?
Well, I mean, the history of Earth Day grew out of, of movement on American college campuses. So that shows you, Earth Day is now the largest secular holiday worldwide. So it shows you the impact that, youth and young people can make. And you look at the Greta Thunbergs, the Malala Yousafzais of the world. I mean, those are young people who have just decided that they are going to change the world, and they're not going to let anyone stop them. And something about you changes as you get older, and you think, I can't do that, or that seems like a lot of work, or there's no way this is going to happen. And young people don't seem to have those same barriers or fears. They set their mind that they're going to do it, and they make it happen. And I think it's really inspirational and incredible. I think I'd push back a little bit. I think we all need to be educated, though. It's, we tell young people, that you'll inherit the future, this planet is going to be yours. But then, they can't vote. They can't draw the voting maps. So, they're being silenced a little bit. And I think, not only do we need young people to continue to engage and to continue to help drive that change, but I guess now I'm in the older group. I'm not youth anymore, but I guess me and other older people need to get on board and listen to what these folks have to say, and let everyone have an equal seat and an equal voice at the table, so that we can, as a collective community and as a collective country, start to make all of these changes that we need.
Definitely. Also, I feel like I'm counting myself as youth until somebody tells me otherwise. I'm going to be youth forever. But yeah, it's very true. Everybody needs a seat at the table, and everybody needs to be able to have those opinions and be able to voice their opinions and have that policy change. Katie, I'm going to go to you for this next one. I see Cece is making a cameo. She wants her debut.
Yeah, I apologize. My cat Cece is very interested in celebrating Earth Day with us. Doesn't get out much, so she's here with us today.
So whenever we hear spring cleaning, we often think of purging household items with the old and with the new, that kind of philosophy. So what are some ways that we can spring clean more sustainably? So maybe, less just get rid of it and more sustainability. Yeah,
definitely. That is what I've always kind of grew up hearing about spring cleaning, was that it was okay, she's too much now. Bye. Sorry, was that it was a time to clean the whole house and get rid of old clothes, or just go through and purge for spring cleaning. And I think people are understanding more as sustainability becomes more trendy, and people understand the importance of it, that understanding what happens to things when you throw them out, or even when you recycle them, or when you discard something, has a huge impact. So for me, spring cleaning, and what I want people to think of now, is not purging or discarding things from your home, but really thinking about, how they can be used again, repaired, donated, and used that way. And I think it's also becoming more popular now, instead of our classic, what we learned as kids, the reduce, reuse, recycle. When it comes to material objects in our lives, people are incorporating more and more R's. So, rethink before you even purchase something, about the materials it's made out of, how it'll be discarded. What's another one? Repair, again, is added in there. Before you recycle, think about how it can be repaired or used again. So yeah, I think there's lots of ways to sustainably spring clean, at least in terms of thinking about getting rid of old and making room for the new, just making the old new again. And if you are getting rid of things, making sure that you're being responsible about how you're discarding resources. And yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you for sharing. I definitely agree. I think there are different words that we kind of forget about before the recycle part of it, which is supposed to be like the last option. But I think it's interesting that we've started to kind of revert back to going before the recycle. What else can we do?
Yeah, again, those are all things that like I learned in elementary school. And then as you get older and you learn more and more, it's like, it would have been so much easier if I learned all of that at a young age. So it's awesome that our younger generations are going more in depth on these topics.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Totally agree. All right, Jeffrey, I'm going to go over to you. What are some ways that we can do a more sustainable spring clean?
The thing that is important to me is, I remember my grandparents and how they worked. That they never wasted anything. That they knew how to package things properly. If they raised peaches, they knew how to can them. If they grew vegetables, they knew how to can and freeze them. When you look at a lot of communities, particularly those communities that were not wealthy, conservation was a part of their life. They didn't call it that, but what we have to do, and where we can help our children, I think, is to mentor, is to embrace the things that they're learning and mentor them and guide them to places where they can get more information, and encourage them, and remind them of the way that things used to be done. And I think that once I learned as a child that something was important to my grandmother or my grandfather or my mom or my dad, it became important to me. And what I think we do is we show them that, yes, this is important. We encourage them to learn more about it. We put them in spaces where they can practice these things, and encourage those who are around them. I think that as we become or as information becomes more available, I think that that we really can help each other. For example, 35 years ago, I worked at the General Land Office, and I was a part of the team that put together the Environmental Clearinghouse. And what we tried to do was identify environmental programs all over the country that could be brought here. We wanted to have a description of what they did, how they operated, what they cost, what it would take to actually run them. One of the programs that we brought to Austin from King County, Washington, was the hazardous chemicals recycling days. They had a recreational vehicle. They parked it in different neighborhoods. People would look under their cabinets, and if something wasn't labeled or they didn't remember what it was, this was a place where they could bring it on a Saturday and it would be disposed of properly. I think that when we have been involved in these types of things, we make each other aware of them. we make it more of a pedestrian process, easy to do, and something that we talk about, think about, work on together. And once we convey that this is important to us, it's amazing what our kids and those kids who work with them will do with that information.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very true. Those values are almost instilled intergenerationally over time, you know. And I mean, I met people in college which didn't know how to recycle just because their small city in Texas just like did not have access to recycling at all. And so it was one of those things where it was like, you know, I don't know how to recycle because I never even knew this was a thing. And so I think it is important to have that accessibility throughout throughout all of our communities. Absolutely. All right, Tom, you're up next.
Yeah, I think both of my co-panelists have nailed it. You know, the refuse, reduce, recycle, rethink, all of those are important. And Commissioner Travillion's point of, you know, passing down those values that we share with the next generations and that we share with others in our community. Commissioner Travillion also mentioned, you know, just the toxic chemicals and household hazardous waste. So I think in terms of a literal spring cleaning, I'd recommend, you know, residents find ways to limit toxins and chemicals and opt for more natural alternatives, you know, using lemon juice and vinegar and things like that, or even just going to the grocery store and finding the, you know, the cleaning products made from natural materials, opting for powdered chemical or cleaning products to reduce plastic waste. There's a lot of companies now that will like ship you little tablets that you can drop into a bottle and mix up with water rather than, you know, getting a new plastic bottle each time. I think there are awesome buy nothing groups and nonprofits that will take items that, and rather than just purging, like Katie mentioned, finding ways where we can put these items into use with someone else who wants them. You know, what's the old adage, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I mean, everything has value to somebody and everything should be looked at as a resource. I'd say in terms of other ways we can spring clean more sustainably, again, I'd say, you know, rethink spring cleaning. Let's talk about our upcoming, and I hope I'm not stealing anyone's thunder, but our upcoming spring clean downstream event this weekend. So we're cleaning up around parks all across Travis County. Instead of just spring cleaning in our own little bubbles, let's see how we can get out and spring clean our communities and our parks and our neighborhoods. I know there's an option where people can just volunteer at home. They can volunteer at home and pull in some neighbors to help clean up with them. And then I'll also do a plug also this weekend is our pharmaceutical take back event. So you can go to takebackday.dea.gov for more information on that, but making sure that pharmaceuticals and unwanted medicines and drugs are not ending up in the trash or ending up, especially not going down the drain and contaminating water supplies, but rather that we're managing these responsibly. So it's a completely anonymous, no questions asked event where people can get rid of any unwanted medicines and drugs, and in doing so, clean up and protect water quality in doing that, and, you know, clean their house.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Tom. I didn't realize that was going on this weekend, so I appreciate that. That's super awesome. Also, you took the words right out of my mouth. That was actually, the next question was about our spring cleanup. So Tom, do you want to go ahead and tell us about how community members can really get involved, and then also what virtual cleaning is?
Absolutely. So there are, I'll be doing my part this weekend. I'll be out of town, but I still want to contribute. So I will be doing a virtual cleanup from West Texas. And, you know, we all live downstream from someone else. So when we are picking up litter, picking up electronics or other items that shouldn't just be left out in the environment to leach metals or chemicals into our soil and into our water supplies. We're helping someone else downstream of us, or potentially helping ourselves by keeping that material out of our water supplies. So I think the whole idea behind a virtual cleanup is like I was mentioning, you can just get together with a group of neighbors and go pick up around your neighborhood, go pick up around your favorite park, pick up on the street in front of your house. Do so carefully. But I think there's a way where we can contribute where we are. No matter where we are in the city, state, country, we can help make that place better and help protect water quality in cleaning up and ensuring proper disposal of miscellaneous items that we have or that we find just out and about. I mean, it's incredible, the damage and potential hazards that items like paint or motor oil or tires, anything, all of those items, when we just see them on the side of the road, if you have an opportunity to safely pick them up and find a way to properly dispose, that not only does that benefit you and your family's health, but the health of others in our community.
Definitely, especially with COVID. I know it's hard with people gathering and being in big groups. So I think that's a really good way to give back to your community while still staying safe and making, if you're, want to do something in your own backyard. So Katie, do you have anything to add about that, about how to get involved in virtual cleanup and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'll expand a little bit on it. Like Tom said, in partnership with Colorado River Alliance and Travis County, we're putting on a big event this weekend on Saturday, the 24th, the Spring Clean Downstream. And this grew out of our annual event that we've been putting on together for over 25 years, the Lake Travis Cleanup. So this is our first time getting together in the spring. It's working out great, centered around Earth Day and getting the community engaged. And although most of the spots are now closed for our in-person in the parks cleanup on Saturday, we do have that virtual component. And so if you go to laketraviscleanup.org, you can find all of this information, but the idea kind of grew out of, the COVID pandemic in this past year and wanting people to be able to be involved safely. And like Tom said, wherever you are in the world, really. So you can register as an at-home or a virtual volunteer. And we've provided some activities that you can do by yourself or with members of your own household. And then you can just take pictures and send them to us. And again, all the information's on laketraviscleanup.org, but it's a really cool way to show our collective impact across, miles and miles and miles, because we can get out and do these things. And there's also activities on there besides just getting out and cleaning your streets and keeping contaminants out of your storm drains that'll end up in waterways. There's some fun spring cleaning activities on there as well that we actually talked about. So things like making your own green cleaning supplies, like DIY recipes to make your own natural cleaning supplies, making seed balls so that you can plant some native plants around your neighborhood. And there's also some really good resources on there for some of the things we talked about, like discarding items and what to do with them, knowing where to take them or how to repair them. So I definitely encourage everybody to go check that out and be a virtual volunteer to join in the Spring Clean Downstream. We're really excited about it. So check it out.
Yeah, Katie and Tom and everybody have put in a lot of work to this. So it's super exciting to have it come to fruition just in a couple of days. So it's going to be really awesome. And I also am super excited to try out the natural cleaning supplies. I'm going to do that this weekend. So I'm super pumped about that. Jeffrey, did you have something to add? I saw you unmuted yourself.
Well, yes. I like to think of things in terms of practical ways that we can be helpful to the communities that we live in. That Austin has an affordability problem. And, a lot of people have been moving out of Austin, out into Manor and Pflugerville and Del Valle and other areas. Well, the good news is that our park system is expanding in those areas. You know, Pflugerville has just added several soccer fields. We have now connected parts of our park system so that you can ride your bike in. We have specifically been trying to make sure that we get as much property as we can, particularly that property that is when it is. Now you're going to have to work with me on this one, Tom. But the property that we've been looking at is a property that has been coming from Maynard, and it comes all the way up through almost the Green Line and goes out towards the airport and comes up 969. I mean, we have been making sure that we've been adding on to our park systems, but a lot of people don't know what's out there. When we go out there and we see stocked fishing ponds, when we see playscapes for kids, when we see softball fields and baseball fields, a lot of the recent additions to our park system, people don't even know about yet. When you look at Northeast Park, when you look at North Park, we are expanding in a way that's going to be very constructive for for parents and their kids, but also for groups that run youth organizations. It has been an outstanding process, and it is really beautiful to see what has been provided for the community. And a lot of people don't realize that the Decker Lake area is 3 times larger than the Zilker Park area. So there's a lot of property out there that hasn't fully been developed, and over the next few years we're going to have to think about how we get thousands of acres of parkland, which is behind barbed wire, and make sure that it is available for the community. But in order for that to happen, we have to make sure that we are taking care of it well. As we have more population that moves in that area, we're going to have to make sure that we pay attention to issues like code compliance, that we make sure that no dumping occurs in those areas. When we see dumping occur, that we work with our sheriff's office and we work with our Austin Code Compliance officers, that we develop a better system to make sure that that when we see trash, that we have a system to collect it and put it in landfills rather than leaving it where it is to possibly contaminate land and water. I would love to tell you where all of the new additions are, but we do have maps that can walk you right through the process. So I will I will pull up one of those maps and give you a place where you can go and look to see how the system has been expanding. It is really wonderful to see that we are preserving parkland in a way that is going to be here for our children and our grandchildren.
I'm super excited to see all the development that's going to be happening with the park. I think it's really exciting that we're kind of expanding and I didn't realize that the Decker Lake area was that big. So I think that's super cool that it's, able to have that big of an area saved and, being able to be enjoyed, but sustainably, which I think is very, very cool.
And I'd also just like to add to Commissioner Travillion's point, we're also acquiring parkland alongside bodies of water so that we are also, in addition to having excellent outdoor recreation opportunities, that we're protecting local water quality as well. And I think those, co-benefits are extremely understated and something to get really excited about as we look to the future.
Absolutely. And especially, at Colorado River Alliance, that's our big deal. So I'm sure we're super excited to see that too. Definitely. All right. Well, it looks like we have about 15 minutes left. So I am going to go ahead. We have one more question left and then we'll just kind of wrap up, do all that good stuff. So if you could share one message about Earth Day with our viewers, what would it be? And Katie, I'm going to go ahead and start with you.
Okay. Well, it's two, surprise. Just because the first one's really simple, and I know we've said it, but just making Earth Day every day is a good message, I think, to practice all the things we've been talking about 365 days a year, but then also kind of zoning in on my issue that I opened up with, which was water conservation, would just be to encourage people to pay attention to your water use. It can be hard. I know I'm on autopilot some days, but just really think about anytime you're interacting with water, whether you're drinking it or flushing the toilet or doing laundry, just think about where your water comes from and how much you're using. There's good resources for that on coloradoriver.org. Some more information about, how to calculate your water footprint and things like that. But I think that is a big part of becoming a steward for your water source, and the Texas Colorado River is just paying attention to the impact that it has in your everyday life. So pay attention to your water use. That'd be my message.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. I think that's super important, especially with our organization. I think that's one of our main things. And yeah, if y'all have that opportunity to do the water calculator, water footprint, it's super interesting. I realized that I used a whole lot more water than I thought I did. So it helped me kind of reduce some of the uses and do all that kind of stuff. So, all right, Tom, what about you? What's your Earth Day message?
So yeah, you can't pick just one. I'm going to be like Katie too. She broke that seal. So I put a couple different resources in the chat. The City of Austin's Office of Sustainability has some tremendous resources for reducing your carbon footprint personally. And there are level 1 actions for beginners up to level 3 actions if you really want to step up your game in terms of sustainability. There's also a group called the Before It's Too Late organization, and they have a 7-day challenge that you can do, and just to promote more mindfulness and sustainability throughout your week. What I would end with is that every single person can make a difference, and together all of us can make a huge change. And so it's not about doing all the things perfectly, but it's about everyone working together and trying.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. You don't have to be perfect on your first try. I think the best part is to not give up and make sure that we're all trying. Most important part. Thank you for that, Tom. And then Commissioner Travillion, you're up.
I would just build on that last point. You don't have to be perfect, but we need to start somewhere. We need to be aware of our environments, the environment around us, aware of the way that we use things, and ask ourselves, are we doing the best that we can? Asking ourselves whether we are being a good example for the people who look to us for examples. It is important that we recognize where we are and seek to improve. I think that, it might start with one simple action that becomes 2 simple actions that become 3 simple actions. You don't have to do it all at once. And then we need to think about, what it means to the big picture. We can do things singularly, and we should, but it is when we influence others that we have a multiplier effect. If we're able to read to students in class, and we're able to talk to 25 students in one class, and if we're able to put packets together and send them home with those kids, we can make a tremendous impact by being mindful of the things that we do and being constructive with the people who we influence, and just continuing to put our best foot forward.
Very well said. Very well said. I think that is extremely important to be mindful of yourself and also help spread that message to others. With that combination, I think it's almost unstoppable. I really appreciate that. Well, that is all the questions that I have for y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining me today talking about Earth Day. Just as a reminder, we do have our spring clean downstream this weekend. So please feel free to sign up at laketravis.org, laketraviscleanup.org. We also have our Instagram handles, which are at Lake Travis Cleanup, at Colorado River Alliance, at Travis County Parks. We have a bunch of them. Feel free to follow us on there for updates, more river reflections, all that good stuff. Again, thank y'all so much for joining us, and happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Hope to see everyone out this weekend, either virtually or in person.
Well, if I could leave you with one challenge, please take the opportunity to find the park that's closest to you and just visit it. Just walk through it and see all the things that are there. And after you go and learn about it, take somebody else. We really do have beautiful parks, and they really are valuable. And I think when we learn about the resources that are available to us, they can become a part of what we celebrate, not just Earth Day, but every day.
Excellent. Yes, every single day is Earth Day. I love that. Thank you so much, and be sure to visit your parks this weekend or anytime. Thank you all again, and have a wonderful day. All right, bye everybody.
Bye-bye.